the overlooked brother of King Henry VIII. During the Tudor era, childbirth posed significant risks for both the mother and the child. Numerous notable individuals such as Catherine Parr and Elizabeth of York tragically passed away shortly after the birth. It was distressingly common for infants to fall ill and perish in the early stages of life, which caused immense sorrow for the parents. One such overlooked figure is Edmund, the forgotten Tudor prince and younger brother of Henry VIII. Securing heirs, particularly sons, was crucial for Tudor monarchs like Henry VII and Henry VIII to ensure the continuation of their dynasties. Henry VIII's relentless pursuit of a male heir led to very drastic actions, including the execution of his second wife, Anne Boleyn. Despite being a fertile couple, Elizabeth of York and Henry VII experienced the heartbreak of losing children in infancy, including Edmund, the Duke of Somerset. In the summer of 1497, after the birth of Princess Mary Tudor, Queen Elizabeth embarked on a pilgrimage in the hopes of conceiving another royal child with her husband. However, at the age of 33, her chances of pregnancy were reduced in Tudor England. The kingdom faced instability due to uprisings and even a fire at Chene Palace in the Christmas of 1497. Despite these challenges, by May of the following year, Queen Elizabeth was pregnant once again. She received the best medical care available at the time, but the pregnancy was very difficult on her. Following tradition, Elizabeth entered confinement at Greenwich Palace in February 1499. Surrounded by her closest attendants, she gave birth to a healthy son, the sixth child of Henry VII and Elizabeth, on the 21st of February 1499. After the birth, the Queen experienced a complication, possibly childbed fever, causing concern for her husband. However, she managed to recover, and the announcement of the new prince's birth was met with widespread celebration across England, marked by very grand ceremonies. The baptism took place on the 24th of February at the Church of the Observant Friars near Greenwich Palace, with a silver front brought from Canterbury Cathedral. Lavish decorations adorned the church, commemorating this historic event, and the baby was named Edmund after his grandfather Edmund Tudor, Earl of Richmond. Margaret, the child's godmother, bestowed a significant sum of £100 upon him, along with financial rewards for the nurses and midwife. Shortly after his birth, Edmund was granted the Duke of Somerset, a title previously held by members of the Beaufort family. This title would later be inherited by Edward Seymour, Lord Protector of Henry VIII's son, Edward VI. Edmund spent his early days in the royal nursery at Eltham Palace, alongside his siblings Margaret, Mary and Henry, the future Henry VIII. Despite the privileged upbringing, tragedy struck in the summer of 1500 with a deadly plague outbreak in England. To safeguard the children, including Edmund, they were relocated from Eltham Palace to the more remote Old Palace at Hatfield in Hertfordshire, while their parents travelled to Calais. The palace, a large red brick structure, served as a temporary refuge from the plague. However, on the 16th of June, upon the King and Queen's return to England, they received devastating news. Prince Edmund had passed away at Hatfield. The cause of his death remains uncertain, possibly due to an illness like the plague or cot death, which was sudden infant death syndrome. The grieving royal couple spared no expense in arranging for his burial. Records indicate that £242 was allocated for Prince Edmund's burial. He received a grand state funeral, with his small body interred in a new chest adorned with white damask and a red velvet cross, along with his effigy and princely circlet. The coffin, accompanied by the effigy, was transported from Hatfield to London in a chariot, draped in black cloth, drawn by 6 horses, which were also adorned with the same black cloth. Edward Stafford, the Duke of Buckingham, led the procession as chief mourner, followed by nobles and lords with torchbearers lighting the route. The Lord Mayor of London and thousands of citizens lined the streets to pay their respects. King Henry, dressed in mourning attire, awaited the coffin at Westminster Abbey, possibly accompanied by the Queen. The coffin was solemnly brought into the abbey on a hearse, where monks and lords maintained vigil over it. Mass was held on the 22nd of June, and the coffin was laid to rest inside the Confessor's Chapel at Westminster Abbey. Unfortunately, there is no record or monument or tomb marking Edward's burial site. Edmund Tudor, the overlooked Tudor prince and son of Henry VII and Elizabeth of York, met a tragic and abrupt end. It's likely that the royal family held high hopes for his future, envisioning him as a prosperous prince who would support his brother's reign and forge alliances through marriage. His untimely death was undoubtedly a profound loss for Henry VII and Elizabeth, foreshadowing further tragedy. Within 2 years of Edmund's passing, Elizabeth of York fell gravely ill following childbirth and succumbed to complications inside the Tower of London. Her death shattered the king, adding to his already significant burden of grief and loss in the early 16th century.